Arsenal have beaten Nottingham Forest 3-0. Not just beaten Nottingham Forest, but absolutely destroyed them. I have to say, not a good first impression from Ange Postecoglou. And it was a very dominant display from Arsenal. I never felt like Forest were going to score. I feel like Arsenal was so defensively secure. Like Timber, I just don't ever see people get past Timber. I feel like Timber goes under the radar because he's so good in so many games and people just don't get past him. But Gabriel Mosquera looked phenomenal. How on earth was he £13 million? Arsenal just looked so good defensively. And I thought in the second half going forward, obviously Forest gave them a bit more space, but they looked quite good in that second half going forward as well. I feel like they started a little bit slow, but I always felt that Arsenal were going to win, even if they weren't at their fastest. But they grew into shape, they grew into the game. Obviously, a lot of players are playing together for the first time, and I think that's normal for them to grow into the game. And what was so big about Arsenal today was there was no Saliba, there was no Havertz, there was no Saka. This time last season, if those three players were out, it would have massively impacted Arsenal. And Odegaard came off. Odegaard, Havertz, Saka and Saliba, you could argue, four of Arsenal's five best players when you look at their squad last season. Those four went out because Odegaard went off. Those four out, and you didn't notice it. You didn't notice it. And that is what Arsenal's summer was about. It was about addressing their depth issue. Madueke was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Their Declan Rice that could come off the bench. That's crazy. He's a player, so good. Mosquera, you didn't even notice Saliba was missing, which is crazy. In fact, Mosquera on the ball, wow. Eze's there. Gyökeres is there. Gyökeres isn't about what he does all game and isn't about being pretty. Gyökeres is about scoring goals. And if you give him what he wants, he will score. And he showed that today. And he's got 3 goals for Arsenal. All of Arsenal's summer signings were making an impact today. You were seeing Arsenal squad depth. They were loads of big players injured, and they didn't miss those players. Whereas last season, they would have missed those players. And this is why Arsenal are, people talk about the loss to Liverpool and they weren't great versus Man United, but this is why Arsenal are genuine title contenders, because they have the depth now to lose a few players and still be good. Now, Forest looked very poor, obviously going 1-0 up helped Arsenal, but they were phenomenal. And this is what's crazy is I was looking at them, and no Saliba, no Saka, no Havertz, but they still on their bench had Wanjeri, Martinelli, Trossard, Rice, Lewis Skelly, Ben White, Hincapie and Max Dowman. That is a ridiculously good bench. To think that 3 of their best players are out, this was their starting lineup, and this was their bench, is crazy. I'm not going to lie, as a Man United fan, I'm jealous. If something happens to Calafiore, they've got Hincapie, they've got Lewis Skelly that can come in. Something happens to Gabriel, they've got Hincapie that can come in. If something happens to Saliba, well, Mosquera is there, boom. Timber and Ben White, 2 phenomenal options at right back. David Raya, fantastic goalkeeper. Martin Odegaard, he's one of Arsenal's best players, but right now there's questions over, does he get in the best starting 11? Could this player play over him? And that's a good thing to have, Potentially if you signed a left winger, Eze could go number 10. I mean, Eze brings something so unique, so different. He wants to get off the shot. He wants to make things happen. He's got a different skill set to Martinelli. Zubimendi was showing what he could do. I think Zubimendi needed a few games to adjust and get used to the tempo, but we're seeing he scored headers. When does he do that? He scored a volley, but he was dictating the tempo. Madueke didn't get a goal or assist today, so people might assume that he was bad because he didn't get a goal or assist. Madueke was cooking his fullback. Madueke was phenomenal. Every time Madueke got the ball, he was direct and making things happen. And I don't know if you watched my video on Arsenal signing Gyökeres, Madueke and Eze, but I said those 3 players are direct players that want to make things happen, that want to score, that want to shoot. And that might make Arsenal less unpredictable. And I thought Arsenal, maybe they were a bit less controlled today at times, but they were more dangerous for that. And I think that was a better thing to have. We've got to talk about Mosquera because Mosquera was an absolute joke today. The fact that, in the Liverpool game, first of all, you didn't even notice Saliba was missing when Mosquera was playing. You didn't even notice it in the slightest. But again today, I wouldn't have noticed Saliba was missing. And when the last time Saliba was out for Arsenal, a few seasons ago when you're in the title race, your title race hopes stopped because that's how important a player Saliba is to Arsenal. Saliba is a player that it's so difficult for someone to step in for Saliba. We've seen it in the past. The fact that it's been 2 games against Forest, Chris Wood, and against Liverpool, the best team in the world, arguably, Mosquera stepped in, and you've not noticed the difference between Mosquera and Saliba or a drop-off, is crazy. I do not know how Arsenal have signed someone who's only 21 years of age, that good at 21 years of age, for £13 million. How have they got him for £13 million? I think there's add-ons that will put it up higher. That could be one of the best Premier League signings of all time if he hits his potential. Because it's not just about what he does off the ball, the controlling the ball, this and that. He's very good on the ball. He's a very good progressive passer from centre back. He's got more forward intent than Saliba, I find. When he gets the ball, he's so comfortable on it. He's so press resistant on the ball. I was shocked with how good he was on the ball, how aggressive he was on the ball. This guy does not look like Saliba backup. This 2 games, look, it's 2 games, it's early days. He might not, you never know what's going to happen long term. But this guy, based off 2 games, looks like he's ready to challenge Saliba and Gabriel. He's ready. If Saliba did go off to Real Madrid or Saliba did have a big injury, it doesn't matter. He looks like he's ready to challenge. He looks like he's ready to play, not back up. He looks like him. And he was 13 million. And it looks like you've got a Saliba regen who's ridiculously good on the ball, ridiculously press resistant, ridiculously progressive. I'm jealous. £13 million. That guy's 2 games, he just looks phenomenal, Mosquera. Phenomenal. Can read the game well. He understands his position well. I like that he's a bit aggressive. He's so comfortable on the ball. You've got the full package. So young for that cheap. That's crazy. So let's talk about Zubimendi. Now, Zubimendi really impressed me in pre-season, but I didn't think he was the best in the first 3 Premier League opening games. I felt that he was still getting used to the tempo, and maybe he wasn't getting used to the fact that the Premier League was quicker. Today, and it's not just about the goals, but he looked a lot better. He looked a lot more on it. He looked a lot more sharp. He looked a lot more used to the tempo. But also, he was starting to show his technical ability. We know how technically good he is. We know why Liverpool wanted him, how good he is at controlling the ball. He was showing that. He was dictating tempo, playing those one-touch passes, breaking the lines. He scored 2 goals for the first time in his career, got a brace. 48 touches, 3 shots, 2 on target, 37 out of 43 passes. He was controlling that midfield. He was giving Arsenal the metronome, but he gave Arsenal a goal threat today, which is not a big part of his game. But the volley, the header, he was immense today. I think that was one of the best games Zubimendi has had in his career against Nottingham Forest. And that goal was key because I think had it been that first goal not happened and had it been 0-0 later on and Forest had a bit more to defend for, it might have been harder to break Forest down. But I think once you went 1-0 up, you got a lot better because Forest had to come out and they had to attack and they had to press and it gave Arsenal more space. And when you have Gyökeres and when you have Eze and when you have Madueke, who all had good games to attack that space, you looked a lot better. Now I want to talk about Gyökeres. Gyökeres has 3 goals this season and we know with Gyökeres, he's not going to be doing this and this and this and doing all this pretty stuff. But if you give Gyökeres the service, he will score. It's not about linking up play. It's not about how involved Gyökeres is. Gyökeres could be crap all game, have 1 touch all game, but if that 1 touch is a goal, Gyökeres has done his job. Arsenal need to play to Gyökeres. Gyökeres is one of those players you need to play to. You need to play to Gyökeres' strengths. Get him in the channels, create him chances, and Gyökeres will be a good signing. If you don't create for him, if you don't play for his strengths, Gyökeres will flop. He's not going to have this huge involvement like an Isak would. He's more like a Haaland Gyökeres. You give him the ball in the right areas and he can score. Gyökeres takes his goals so well. He scores. We've seen that. Gyökeres showing, if you give him the chance, he will score. And Gyökeres did exactly what you need him to do today. You give him the chance, he scores. And that's how you get the best out of him. I also want to talk about Noni Madueke. Now, a lot of Arsenal fans were really angry over this signing. But I tell you what, I don't think they will be now. I know he didn't get a goal and assist today, but he created the most chances 5, won the most duels in 9, and had the most touches in the opposition's box in 12. Noni Madueke was fantastic. Noni Madueke was excellent, arguably man of the match. But I think, Zubimendi were putting it because of the goals. He was putting in crosses, he was taking on his man. Every time he was getting the ball, he was making things happen. Noni Madueke was cooking today. This was an eye test performance. There was no goal and assist, but this was an eye test performance. He was so dangerous. He was so lethal. He was so direct. And this is the Noni Madueke, which is what Bert has seen. This is the reason Arsenal have signed him. Saka is out. They've got someone that can come in and be direct and do stuff. He might not have the goal scoring input of Saka. He might not have the consistency of Saka. And I don't think he was worth quite £50 million. But he's somebody that has a unique skill set that likes to drive at people, make things happen, put in the cross, get that shot off. He's someone that is chaotic. He's someone that is direct. He's the right profile of winger, and he's just refining those skills, and he's just improving those skills. And when he does refine and improve those skills, he'll be another level. And of course, we've got to talk about Eze. He obviously registered an assist, no 007 for him, but his influence was beyond the assist. What I noticed about Eze today was really good smart movement between the lines, good decision-making, quick decision-making. He had a very good idea of what to do and when to do it. Improvisation is probably the word. He was dribbling and he was getting a shot off. He knew where to be, where to move, when to pass, when to shoot. And what I liked about Eze was he was getting the ball, he was demanding it, and he was looking to shoot, and he was looking to make things happen, and he was looking to be chaotic. And I think Saka being a creator on the right, Eze being someone that looks to shoot on the left, is a really good balance for Arsenal to have on their wings. You know, he was class today, Eze. He was just moving with a natural flow, a natural ability of, I know when to pass, I know when to run, I know when to shoot. It's like you just knew when Eze was on the ball, he knew what to do. My general review of Arsenal was I thought Timber was excellent, I thought Gabriel was excellent, I thought Mosquera was phenomenal and is looking like a bargain. Zubimendi was very good, I thought Rice was good when he came on. I actually thought Arsenal looked better when Odegaard came off. I think the depth allows Arsenal rotation. I think you're seeing why Arsenal went out for these signings that some people didn't get for elite level depth. And this was a huge win for Arsenal because it's still early days. Yes, they've lost to Liverpool, but they've won all their other games. Arsenal today were more direct, they were moving the ball quicker in the second half, they were less predictable, and they showed they can move out Saka, Havertz and Saliba, which is something they might have struggled with last season. Arteta has the tools, he's got the depth to do what he needs to do. Thank you for watching, bye.